Virtual learning sucks. There's no other way to say it. But now that we've got that out of the way, it is the reality for millions of kids right now. How can you make it a little less painful? Well, you've got to have just enough organization in your life so that you won't go crazy. What you won't find with my system is perfection. What you will find is how you can make digital learning easier with just a little bit of planning beforehand. Stay tuned. The newest episode of the Teacher Ces Podcast drops right now. We are back. It is the Teacher Ces Podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the show, give a 5-star rating, all that great stuff as my air conditioning unit comes on. I'm live from Basement Studios, and as you can hear, there's always a lot going on in the Basement Studios, and that's neither here nor there. You are tuned into the Teacher Ces Podcast, and I am the host, Ces. What's good? What's going on? If you haven't already visited my website, I'm proud to say my website is back up. It looks good. It's running. Life is good. You can check me out at www.teacherces.com. That's TeacherCes.com. So here we are in the fall, 2020, the year that just keeps going on and on and on, as all years do. This one is extra special because it's very odd. A lot of people are saying, well, can you say it's the worst year ever? No, I can't say that. I can't say that until the last day of the year. But you will find out that a lot of oddities are going on this year. And with that being stated, one of the oddities is digital learning. I don't know what part of the country you're in or where you're listening in the world, but right here in my location, my kids have gone to school online as third graders. I have twins, by the way. I think I've mentioned that several times, but if you're new, you know that now. With me, myself personally, I'm also a teacher, and I'm teaching online. And what a struggle that can be. It's hard, very difficult. I feel like I'm a YouTuber, and I'm always super animated. Thank goodness my class that I teach, solo, is first period, so it's early in the morning. I'm highly energized, and yeah, not to say that, digital learning, there's some things that I wish were more uniform across the board. Like I noticed my elementary school children, the ones that I live with and gave birth to, they are required to keep their cameras on and, all that good stuff. Middle school, it's not so cut and dry because a lot of the students keep the cameras off and, they make it's an equity issue. Some kids don't want people to see the background of their house. Well, you can sit against the wall, I guess. I don't know. It's not so much I want to see what your house looks like because honestly, I don't care. Or if you're in the house at all. But the issue is a lot of the times when the kids do turn off their cameras, you know what they're doing? They're not paying attention to you, for real. They're playing on their phones, they're playing with their devices, their gadgets, they're probably stepped away watching YouTube. Is this the case of all of them? No, definitely not. But more than a few. And therefore, you're like, they're really missing out on their education. Excuse me. Of course, we can't force them to turn on the camera, so it is what it is, and we'll let the test scores and the grades speak for themselves of the students. Once we find out what's going on, maybe we can see an alignment between kids who have their cameras on or off. I mean, it really is no big deal if they're really paying attention. I wouldn't care. But my issue is they're not paying attention in many cases when the camera's on. So, how do I get through my digital day, especially when you're working at home? Whether you're a teacher, you're a government worker, you're an engineer, whatever you're doing, and you're working at the home. This is what I do. First off, my first step is to give my children instructions on how to sign into their digital devices where they don't need my help. And yes, it does require practice. Lots and lots of practice. It requires screenshots of this computer screen and very specific steps, like step 1, this is what your home screen will look like. Where it says username, you are going to type in blah, blah, blah. Where it says password, you're going to type in blah, blah, skip, whatever it says. Thus far, we've had no issues, problems signing in because I give such detail on what they need to do. And if you visit my website, I have a blog post up about this very issue, complete with pictures, or I should have by the time you're hearing this. Step 2 to make my life and my household's life a lot easier is to buy what I call a classroom caddy. It's simply like an organizational piece of equipment. That's not a good word. That's not what I'm looking for. But just like an organizational system. It has like 3 holes, 3 squares. The kids can put in their notebooks, their pencils, their crayons, scissors, all that good stuff. I went the extra step because both of my kids are in the same grade, so I color coordinated, meaning like the red caddy has a red folder, red composition book. Didn't go as far as red pencils. I can't find all. I'm not that good. You can easily find color coordinated school supplies. I wouldn't imagine anywhere, but where I specifically look is Walmart and Target, who should become sponsors of the show. But, they have things of various colors. So, for example, my daughter's color is, I believe she chose the blue. So all of her materials are blue. My son, all his materials are red, and they know this, so no more, that's fine. I'm busy with my work. I can't stop the breakup fights. I'm not doing that. I have that. Another step to making it through the hurdle of virtual learning when you're working at home is signing up for whatever platform your child's classroom is learning as far as their school system's organizational system. So, for example, in the past, up until this current year, my school used Google Classroom, and then we switched over to Canvas. And I don't know if you're like me, I hate a bunch of emails. It drives me crazy. And with Canvas, I get a bunch of emails. There's really nothing I can do about it because I definitely want my kids accountable. So I'm getting a million emails about assignments that are due and what class they need to be in tomorrow, etc. I even have to admit it's a little annoying to get a million emails, but it is what it is, and it helps me know that, my daughter has to turn this in on Friday, my son has to turn that in on Tuesday. So, again, a little annoying, but it is what it is. My 4th and final step, again, wine. Yes, wine, lots and lots of wine. We're going to get through this, but it does require wine. Although I save my wine for the weekends, I still need wine to get through all of this. So those are my tips of getting through the virtual school year. So what about you? This is what I want to hear from you all. How are you getting it through your virtual school year, whether you're 100% online or whether you're doing like doing dual system of partial online and partial offline, like when in school, or you in a pod. We talked about that about 2 episodes ago, previously on the Teacher Ces Podcast. It definitely can be very, very, very stressful. Getting through this school year. Even with me, I don't really get anxiety per se, but like I'm always paranoid about missing a date. I try to keep everything organized. My basement has turned into a classroom. It's really annoying because I wanted this to be a basement. My schedule is behind me. Even today, I have a night duty at my school this evening, so I'm 100% at home. So I took a little break in between time to record a long-awaited episode for my regular listeners. Unfortunately, school has started, so I'm not as consistent with all that life has thrown at me the past couple months. My goal is to be consistent with this podcast, and that's kind of out the window in the year 2020, but we're almost 2 years strong. Not exactly the way I want it to be, but it is what it is. I know one day I'll get to where I want to be, but you guys don't want to hear. I don't even want to hear a bunch of excuses, and that's what I'm throwing at you right now. So this is going to be a short episode, so you can find my social media links in the show notes. No guests, pretty simple episode this week, just on how I'm getting through the school year, and I would love to hear how you're doing that. You can find me on my social. All my links are, and the air goes off, in the show notes. As I said previously, my website is back up. I think that's the biggest win for the past couple of months. My website turned into a hot mess. I'm not going to get into the hows, but it's back up, and I'm really happy about that. So that's all for now. Have a fantastically fabulous week, and God willing, you'll hear from me next week. Bye!